Very, very happy to see you again, and welcome if this is your first time in the Rescogita's podcast channel. Rescogita, the ecological startup that aims to have an impact on individuals, on society, and on the biosphere. So remember to follow us on www.rescogita.academy. Now, sit back, relax, enjoy. Welcome to the 5th of 6 episodes of this Rescogita series on values and discovering the spiral dynamics. My name is Lorenzo Nava, and today we will discover how spiral dynamics are applied and still exist in today's human society. So in the previous episodes, we explored how this was applied to human history since 500,000 years ago, as well how it is applied to the different stages of a person's life, from birth to the old age. What we're going to explore now is how this can actually be applied also at social level. So in this part, we're going to explore some archetypes and stereotypes of how each color fits in today's world, and just take it as a compass rather than a detailed description. This, along with the rest of information, can help you to understand and decode yourself and other people's description of a mature person. So beige. Let's imagine a guy, Malcolm. Malcolm was suffering from a mental degenerative illness, which made him lose his language skills and short memory loss. He lives day after day, relearning many of the basic skills as nurses and psychiatrists teach him. His mood and life are set by the conditions around him. He protests when he's cold, removes clothes when hot, when hungry or thirsty, shouts out. Anything goes, as he must quell his impulse as fast as possible, and by any means possible and available. He is also a bit paranoid, does not trust anyone, and when eating and drinking he always protects his food and water, and has very light sleep, as if ready to stand up and fight or flee. In a matter of minutes, his communication with fellow humans on his state and thoughts is mostly through sounds and body language. Beige level is almost not existing anymore in human society, apart from a toddler phase of life as was said before, and perhaps it may still be found in some very remote areas on the planet and very isolated cases. In modern society, a beige person may well be an elderly, someone suffering from mental degenerative illnesses, and along besides. Purple. Let's imagine Susan. Susan lives in a community of like-minded fellow believers in God and love for all the creation. She remembers every day years ago when she still didn't have God in her life. And what horrible life she led, made of alcohol, drugs, casual sex, and self-destructive behaviors. And with a heart full of gratitude, she remembers meeting the priest who showed her the light out of the tunnel of perdition and brought her back on the path of light. Since then, she has been living in this community. All members are always kind and supportive to one another. Never a word or an act of hate here. Only people filled with light. She wakes up in the morning like all other fellow brothers and sisters, and the priest leads the morning prayers, as he does 3 times per day. Then all go to their professions and jobs, and all that is earned goes into a common cash box in order to look after everyone in the community. Since she has no belonging anymore and gave everything to the community, she feels so much more relieved and free of worries, free to love God and all the creation with all of herself, knowing that every one of her basic needs is looked after by a community. They eat together, pray together, carry out the chores together. Of course, there are rules to follow, and yet these rules are not difficult for one who sees in the community the manifestation of divine love. and the universe. Like the other day when 2 of the community members were found fornicating without even being married. And of course, the priest, supported by the whole community, decided to remove these people guilty of unholy behavior, and harmony was restored. Purple, apart from the pre-puberty childhood, can be found in peoples and groups of people who are closed within an in-group. Here we give an example of a sect or a cult, which can resemble the structure of a tribe from prehistoric times. However, such a system of values may also be found in radicalized groups, extremists, street gangs, as well as, of course, in remote parts of the world. Red. For red, we take the example of Fred. It even rhymes. Fred lives in suburbia. Fred grew up streetwise. He's a survivor. If the streets taught him something, that is, if you want something, get it. He is the kind of person who does not know the boundary between being brave and reckless. So many of his friends and companions have already fallen to fights, to the bottle, to drugs, that he has learned not to make any long-term plans. As life can be so unpredictable, better live now and today, regardless of the consequences of his actions. The thrill, the adrenaline, the pleasure are what gives him satisfaction. And that gang that follows his leadership, all are submitted to his strength and power. And he is the ringleader. His actions are often impulsive, and when it works, he rests assured of his power. Failure instead is seen as a provocation to insist more, and punishment is a strong motivation to pursue the lifestyle he chose. In the face of all those do-gooders, respectable and honorable citizens, he is free, and the world, it's his for his taking. So, red, apart from the teenage phase, can also be seen today in situations where extremes may require a person to develop or adopt such a system of values. Situations of poverty, of conflict, rough neighborhoods. And this does not make the person necessarily bad or evil. Simply uncertainties and need for survival require the system. So quite often, red's followers are purple. So people who are seeking security and safety. Blue. For blue, we will take the example of Camilla. Camilla is working as a branch director in a public sector office. Decades of honored service to the state and to the public. A bit of routine and boring job. However, she thinks of that immediately. Her thoughts go to what she has been repeating to herself for many years. She is doing her duty and her part for the well-being of society. Duly pays her taxes, recycles for the sake of the environment, never got a fine or parking ticket, and as a diligent citizen, votes at every election. And every Sunday attends church. With her children, she can be a bit of a strict mother. Yet, her children will be grateful to her when they grow up and become God-fearing and law-abiding citizens. Whenever looking back at her life, she counts at all her blessings, thanks God in her prayers, a stable job, okay income, happy family, and with so much turmoil and trouble in the world, she lives in a peaceful, stable, and great country, with a great history, and destined to have a great future. She always scolds the younger generation. Why can't they feel what she feels? Every time the flag flies up or high or the anthem is playing, she has butterflies in her stomach. Blue, apart from entering adulthood, can be seen extensively today. Perhaps not in every aspect described above, however, is probably one of the most widespread value systems in today's world. The superiority of morality and ethics, role of religion, or that of an ideal, dogmatism of law, the respect and obedience to the high authorities or the state institutions, and a strong sense of communal belonging to people from the same language, culture, country, faith, etc. Orange. We reached Orange, and Orange we will have the example of Mario. So Mario's mobile phone ringtone wakes him up in the morning at the sound of classical music. He always admired the genius of classical composers, of how one single mind could create such complexity and beauty. As the electric coffee machine is punctually brewing the black energetic elixir, he opens his tablet to have a look at the stock markets around the world. Nothing new, and no news is good news. Accidentally, he hits the book next to his other book, Nietzsche, Beyond Good and Evil. Recently, he attended a training for top managers, where it was said that much of the rhetoric of persuasion and influence lay in the works of great philosophers of the past. And he felt he could do with more learning in that direction, as he sips his coffee and enjoys his healthy avocado, recommended by his nutritionist. It is time to check his website on e-commerce and how the sales of ad space online is going. Recently placed a major sale to one of the biggest retailers online globally, and already started daydreaming of the fat check he will receive soon. Done. Time to go to work. Consultant on human resources at a large insurance firm, designing mechanisms and systems for employment, as well as criteria for firing people during bad times. It is a good job. It pays really well. However, started to get a bit of routine, and he has learned already that the business of consulting could be time to actually get some associates together and make a pretty strong group and become a market leader. After all, he has the CV for it: degree in economics, masters in business administration, and all kinds of specialization courses from banking to accounting. Of course, he had to drop out of art school, one of his passions. Many said he would have become quite a successful painter, and he still paints from time to time. At least his ex-wife and children loved his drawings. Maybe he can move his business to art. Art collectors maybe, paint a bit too, let's see. But now, to work. So, Orange is pretty much me. Everything I do it for me. To achieve success, recognition of my individualism, and of the self on behalf of society, with some elements of ambition, narcissism, and ability to dream big, with parts of risk-it-all attitude to achieve my goal. And whether I succeed or fail is only up to me. Therefore, a knack for experimenting, learning, and constantly self-improving towards tangible results. Green, we have Sophie. Sophie was for years active in a local NGO, doing plenty of local volunteering, fundraising, conducting campaigns. Fair enough, the income was very low, yet the satisfaction was very high. However, one day she realized that despite her efforts, and that of hundreds of people just like her, the change was so little. It was time to lead by example. This is how she fundraised and created her own startup, a manufacturing workshop. The majority of employees would be from migrant background, as those have the hardest time finding a normal employment. They would use only recyclable and sustainable materials, and people would be trained on the job. As the company grew and grew, she adapted her employment policy to include also single mothers, and then people from disadvantaged backgrounds. The real innovation is that each new employee was given also a share of the company. So the more the company earned, the better salary they will get, yet being guaranteed a dignifying salary by contract. Her workers had a 6-hour working day for 5 days per week. Once a week per month, it would require 4 working days only. The whole workshop was built using Feng Shui consultants to improve the whole energy of the place. Also, every week, They would hold a meeting with the whole staff to ensure all knew what the others were doing, and all could voice their concerns or proposals. And each and every decision was voted on by the assembly. Their workshop had a nice green area around, strict non-smoking rules, and a cafeteria which would serve only vegan and vegetarian foods, and a number of training and seminars for the workers who wished to stay longer and either gain a new skill or discuss matters like global warming, poverty, inequality, etc. Green can be seen as those who wish to see a better world for others as for themselves. Ones who perceive a need now to behave as a global community and look after one another, and basically save the planet by saving humanity. All lives matter, all opinions matter, and is important by an innate care for others as well as a strong sense of justice. Here we are to yellow. And for yellow we have Jessica. Jessica always felt a bit out of place. She perfectly understood and analyzed in depth every issue and problem humanity is facing today, and has come to realize that solutions can't be found in the past. Rather, new solutions need to be created. And where can they be found? Life has always had more question marks than answers. Though this has led her to become extremely flexible and adaptable person. She has changed a number of jobs and places and somehow always managed to find the way to fit in and find a common language with everybody. The best jobs and tasks for her are the ones where she's learning. And if not, then a job becomes just a mean to afford more learning. Buy new books, attending more courses, learn and develop are the key words. And of course, her life is balanced and harmonized in 3 parts: to work, to learn, and to develop. And to do something for others as well for herself. And in the constant search of the one thing she can do to encompass it all. Yellows are seekers. Question everything, discard nothing. Empathic towards humanity and the world, and yet wishing for themselves success in every area. Their empathy leads them to feel situations and people and to be able to adapt quickly with a flexibility. Could be that yellow is the beginning actually of a new spiral, of a new helix, of a new tornado shape. Did you recognize elements of yourself in any of the descriptions or that of people you know? Would be interesting if you did. Well, thank you very much for being with us today. And would be interesting actually to hear your thoughts and impressions about this podcast. So you're welcome to follow Rescogita on Facebook, on LinkedIn, YouTube, and of course on our website, www.rescogita.academy. Next week, we're going to conclude our series, looking at spiral dynamics and self-realization. Thank you once more, and please do take very, very good care of yourself. Goodbye.